Welcome to episode 13 from the Underdog Training podcast. Today we have a look at the barking dog. Why do dogs bark and how can you stop them from doing it? Barking is a natural form of communication for dogs. Barking dogs are therefore completely normal. And humans have contributed to this as they wanted dogs that bark more or less, at least in the past. There are therefore breeds that bark more or less. This has to do with their history. Many dogs were supposed to bark. The barking dog on the farm was something like a doorbell, and in rural areas it still is today. If you're busy somewhere on the farm, you don't always notice everything. Then it's good to have one lying by the gate to give a heads up. Someone the intruder might even respect. The dog was supposed to bark to indicate movement or the arrival of strangers. Many dogs that used to serve as farm dogs still do this today. The Spitz is a very bark-happy dog. As a watchdog, it is part of its job. Some hunting dogs also love to bark. These are mainly the breeds used in packs for chasing. The dog that is supposed to indicate game are usually quieter because they shouldn't scare the game away. So barking is partly related to the origin function of the breed. But there are more reasons to bark, and this can apply to any dog. In addition to indication intruders, barking also serves to drive away or keep strangers at a distance. Just as the farm dog gives a heads up there's someone, it also wants to keep that someone out of its territory. This is often hard for humans to understand, but it's really quite simple. Suddenly, there's a stranger in your home. Dogs don't have walls around their homes, but they guard and protect their territory by marking and barking. And this behavior was also desired by humans and has been deliberately encouraged for thousands of years. Today, however, most dogs no longer live in isolated farms, but in apartments and multi-family houses. And it can be annoying when the dog alerts you to everyone who walks through the stairwell. The problem with this barking is the success that justifies the dog's actions. Take the postman, for example. There's a strange intruder and he needs to be driven away, so the dog barks. Now the postman leaves. For the dog, this is a full success because the dog doesn't know that the postman was going to leave anyway. So the dog has learned barking works. Strangers disappear again. But there are more reasons for barking. For example, boredom. Your dog is bored and wants attention. When he barks, he gets attention. This is a dilemma because your dog quite quickly realizes this. Basically, you need to ignore his barking to show him that it doesn't help, and that can really be nerve-wracking. A solution. Ask yourself why your dog is bored. Is he understimulated? Does he need more exercise and activity? Because that's where you can make a difference. Offer your dog more activities and prevent him from barking for attention in the first place. Insecurity. Your dog is insecure, and barking helps him relieve stress. He also learns that people and other dogs may avoid him. What can you do? Try to find out in which situation your dog becomes insecure and starts barking. Then figure out how you can best support your dog in that situation so that he feels safe and doesn't feel the need to bark. Or your dog is simply hungry. Yes, it happens. It even happens to me. I get absorbed in work and forget that it's time for the next feeding. Luckily, my dogs don't forget and remind me. Pain. Another possibility is pain. So if there's no other explanation, definitely have a checkup at the vet. Understimulation. This is similar to boredom. Some dogs that don't have much to do find their own task, and that can be barking, for example. Your dog might take it upon himself to bark at everyone who walks past the house. It is a nice occupation. At the window or the garden fence, this is especially fun. Excitement. Your dog is excited. He might be happy or scared, that doesn't matter. Barking uses up energy and helps to relieve stress. For our ears, is extremely annoying, but for dogs who have much better ears, it's a good indicator of the level of excitement. When it's feeding time here, some dogs are very quiet and wait patiently, while others bark so much that my ears feel like they are going to fall off, simply because they are so excited. Maybe your dog is old and doesn't hear very well or might even be deaf. Then dogs bark to hear themselves, to get attention because they are insecure or to orientate themselves. Alerting to danger. Your dog has noticed something and wants to inform others, in this case you. There is this type of barking when dogs find an animal they can't categorize and that scares them. Often these are hedgehogs or snakes. But the dog can also bark if there's a fire or the cat needs help. Social behavior. Your dog is communicating with other dogs. If you have multiple dogs, they probably all bark. If one starts, all the others join in, whether they know what it's about or not. This strengthens group belonging, and together they are even stronger. But barking also serves as external communication. At dusk, the farmer dogs often bark here to mark their territory. The message: I live and watch here, so stay where you are. Loneliness. Your dog feels lonely. Lonely dogs just bark monotonously, especially if they regularly have no social contact for an extended period. None at all. But it can also be separation anxiety if your dog starts barking as soon as you leave the house, even if it's just to take out the trash. Animal shelter. Many dogs get used to barking in the shelter so they don't get lost in the chaos. A shelter combines all the problems: insecurity, boredom, community. It may sound paradoxical, but when one dog barks there, usually all of them do. And no matter how much the staff and volunteers care for the dogs, a shelter can't replace a home. Dogs from the shelter can stop barking in a quiet and secure environment immediately. Other dogs bark because they've gotten used to it. And still other dogs bark after adoption because they suffer from separation anxiety. So we see there are many reasons why dogs bark. The problem is that we often don't listen to them and are simply annoyed. The dog is just expected to stop it. So, how do I stop the dog from barking? Of course, it is easier if you pay attention to it from the beginning rather than when barking has already become established. But there's always something you can do. Pay attention to what breed of dog you have or want. Is it a quiet dog or one that naturally barks a lot? Training. From the start, show your dog that you take the lead and are responsible for safety. Your dog can support you. After all, he hears much better than you do. If your dog barks because he heard something, take him seriously. You can check, I often do this and it helps a lot. And at the same time, train your dog, a short bark is okay, then you take over and your dog can relax again. Activity. Make sure your dog is well exercised and entertained so he doesn't get bored. This doesn't mean that he needs 24/7 Chidal, but rather appropriate exercises. Security. If your dog is easily stressed, make sure to show him that you are in charge of safety. This way, he won't feel the need to defend himself. And health. Pain or deafness. In case of doubt, visit the vet to make sure everything is okay. Basically, barking is communication, no matter how much it annoys us. Your dog wants to tell you something. So take him seriously at first. Find out why your dog is barking. A little spoiler: it's usually boredom and excitement. If your dog doesn't have much to do, the garden fence is the perfect playground. Your dog gets attention, exercise, and has fun and success. If you want to stop this, it takes work. There's no easy solution for this. Training and keeping him occupied only. The second most common cause is insecurity. Here too, only targeted training will help to convey to your dog that there's no reason to be afraid because you can protect him. This also takes work, requires some time and patience, and demands your full commitment. If you need help getting your dog to stop barking, feel free to reach out. There are many other options beside electric collars or treats. I'm happy to support you. You will find links to the Underdog community and my page with special offers for further support. Thank you for listening. Good luck with the dog. Bye.